You know, I love cartoons. I love just about everything about them. I love how funny they can be, how wacky and creative they are, and I truly admire them as a great form of art. Of course, not all cartoons are created equal, and while there definitely are some truly wretched ones out there, one of the absolute best ones has to be Tiny Toon Adventures.
We're tiny, we're toony, we're all a little loony, and in this cartoony we're invading your TV.
Yeah, when it comes to cartoons, you really can't do much better than this show. At least, I'm pretty sure you can't. Okay, so to be completely honest, I actually don't remember too much about this show. Don't get me wrong, I definitely remember watching it as a kid, and I do remember certain characters and the overall premise of the show, but try as I might, I don't really remember anything all that specific about it. I do remember finding the show really funny and enjoyable though, and based on what other people generally say about it, I don't think I'm misremembering that part. Either way, I have to admit that I remember embarrassingly little about the actual show. However, there is something related to the show that I do remember very well. It's something that's held a very special place in my heart ever since the first time I tried it, and I recall it as one of the best gaming experiences of my life. I am of course talking about the absolutely sparkling gem of a game, simply called Tiny Toon Adventures Buster Busts Loose. Man, I love this game. It's just so much fun. I honestly think it's one of the absolute best games the Super Nintendo ever gave us. It's just brilliant. Okay, so maybe that's taking it a bit too far. I mean, it's not exactly the biggest or most innovative game in the world, but it does what it does extremely well. I used to love playing this game as a kid, and I still find it really enjoyable, but could I just be blinded by nostalgia? Is this game actually as good as I remember it, or is that just my inner child playing a trick on me? Well, I doubt that my inner child could actually pull off something like that considering what a fucking idiot he is, but let's just take a closer look at the game anyway and see if we can't find out. So, just in case you don't already know, let me begin by explaining just what the hell this game is. Like I mentioned, it's a game based on Tiny Toon Adventures, and as the title of the game suggests, it has you playing as one of the show's main characters, Buster Bunny, as he goes on a big adventure. An adventure to do what, you might ask? To have an adventure, what else? No, seriously, there's not really anything more to it than that. You're not trying to defeat some ultimate evil or save some distressed maiden or anything, you're just going for a big adventure. That's actually kinda refreshing when I think about it. I mean, yeah, it would be nice to have a little bit more of a reason for why you should bother going through with this at all, but I have to admit, it is kinda nice to have a game that's just about having a fun adventure for once. So exactly how big is this adventure? Well, the game consists of 6 stages: Acme University, the Old West, a Haunted Mansion, an American football game, the sky, and outer space. Now, this may not seem like the biggest adventure in the world, because it isn't. Seriously, 6 stages? That's all we get? I've had bigger adventures than that on the fucking toilet! To be fair though, the stages are at least varied enough to keep things interesting, and even though there aren't that many of them, they still add up to a pretty decent adventure in my opinion. It also helps that you get a bonus game between each stage. You see, when you complete a stage, you get to spin a wheel in order to choose one of 5 different minigames to play. All of them are pretty fun and interesting, and they're a good way of giving you a bit of a break every once in a while, as well as a chance to earn some extra lives. So that's all well and good, but what about the main portion of the game? I mean, none of these other things would matter much if the rest of the game sucks, right? Well, luckily, it doesn't. As mentioned, you control Buster as you make your way through the stages while dealing with enemies, collecting items, jumping gaps, and avoiding various other hazards. Basically, your typical platforming stuff. To attack, you have to do a drop kick, which Buster does by doing sort of a backflip. There's nothing wrong with this, I guess, but I would think it'd be a bit easier to just jump on them or something. Oh wait, I forgot. You can't just jump on the enemies because that hurts you. What? Makes sense to me! I mean, have you ever tried jumping on someone? It hurts like hell! Kicking someone, now that actually feels great, especially if you do it while doing a backflip. Seriously, you should try it out. In addition to that, Buster has one more trick up his sleeve, his ability to dash, and no, this is not simply a running button. You see, while the dash feature is mainly used to run, it can also be used to defeat enemies or knock over certain objects by sliding into them, you can use it to jump over wider gaps, and of course, you can run up walls. This is all pretty fun, but before you try to use this feature all the time, you should take a look in the corner of the screen. See that meter with the word dash next to it? That's right, you only have a limited amount of time in which to dash. Once this meter is empty, you have to wait for it to fill up before you can dash again. Well, at least most of the time. You see, while you normally need to wait for the dash meter to replenish, there are sections of the game where you need to dash for longer than the meter allows. In order to do this, you simply need to pick up these silver Go-Go-Dodo trophies, and the dash meter is instantly refilled, allowing you to keep dashing. There are a few other items that will help you out as well. The carrot trophies affect your life meter. Silver carrots restore 1 heart, gold carrots restore all of them, and the crystal carrots increase the number of hearts available. Then there are the golden Go-Go-Dodo trophies, which makes Buster invincible for a limited time, and the crystal ones turn all the enemies on the screen into stars, which gives you an extra life for every 100 you collect. Finally, you can also find these little Buster Bunny dolls that, fairly obviously, gives you an extra life. Now, having all these moves and items is just fine and dandy, but what's it actually like to play the game? Are the enemies varied and well balanced? Does it have a good challenge level? Well, maybe I should stop asking all these stupid questions and just tell you already! I mean, come on! Well, to put it simply, it all works very well, at least for the most part. Most of the enemies provide a decent enough challenge, maybe erring a bit on the easy side, but for this type of game, they feel appropriate enough. The actual stages are also pretty well designed overall, making it easy to figure out where to go and what to do. Also, while this is definitely a linear game, there are a few somewhat hidden areas and items once in a while, so it pays off to explore whenever possible. I will admit, however, that there are certain sections of the game that kinda get on my tits. For instance, there's a part on a train in the Old West stage where you have to jump from one car to another by way of these wooden logs being thrown by Arnold the Pitbull. Now, this isn't the worst thing I've ever experienced, but you have to be pretty fucking accurate with these things, and it's really easy to miscalculate a jump or simply slip off the logs when making your way across them. Again, I've seen much worse, but it still gets kind of frustrating. Certain enemies can also be kind of annoying. Most of them are perfectly acceptable, but take a look at this vampire fuck in the Haunted Mansion stage. At first he may not seem so bad, just a fairly generic sort of vampire guy who turns into a bat, nothing special, but then it turns out you can't fucking kill him! Oh, you can hit him, and it'll definitely look like he's taking damage, but he'll never go away. He'll just keep flying around you like the annoying asshole that he is. Just die already! Die! Die, you son of a bitch! Well, I guess it makes sense, though. I mean, he is a vampire, so technically he's already dead. Can't really make him any deader. Unless you, oh, I don't know, open up a window or something. Seriously, vampires suck! And not just blood. In addition to that, there's a section of the outer space stage where you have to get across an area while the screen scrolls and some sort of explosion keeps going off. It may not sound too bad, and in all honesty it's not exactly awful, but the thing is that you have to be standing behind these blast-proof walls whenever the explosions happen, or you'll take damage. Again, this isn't exactly the most difficult thing in the world to pull off, but it can be rather annoying, and it just feels a bit unnecessary. It doesn't exactly ruin anything though, but there's another stage that comes quite close to doing just that. It is by far the worst thing in the entire game, at least in my opinion. I am, of course, talking about the American football stage. Yeah, I know, big shocker, right? A stage in a cartoony adventure game based around a real-life sport turns out to be the worst one? Who could have seen that coming? Okay, so to be fair, this stage isn't exactly the worst thing I've ever experienced. I mean, it's a fucking zillion times better than any Madden game, but it's still a game of American football. It just doesn't fit in with the rest of the game. Oh sure, it's a relatively simplified and cartoony version of American football, but it just shouldn't have been a part of this game, especially not when they make it so rabbit-punchingly frustrating and tedious as this. The goal here is relatively simple. Make it to the end of the field and score a touchdown. That's it. I guess I should be glad that you don't have to play an entire game of this crap, but even scoring this one fucking touchdown is so needlessly challenging that it makes me want to break my fucking controller in half! You see, before each kickoff or play or whatever it's called, you can choose whether you want to run with the ball or if you want to try and catch a pass. However, this choice is immediately rendered completely unnecessary, as catching a pass is damn near impossible. I'm not even kidding, you couldn't catch this thing if your life depended on it, and it's not like you can just pick up the ball if no one else grabs it either. No, you have to catch it before it hits the ground or you fail. Well, since I can't stop fucking running, and since I'm always getting fucking gang raped by the opposing team just before the ball is about to land, you might as well launch it the other way for all the fucking hope I have of ever catching it. Naturally, this means that you're stuck trying to run with the ball, which at least works to a certain degree, but I swear to fucking Beelzebub himself that the opposing team is fucking programmed to know your every single fucking move. If you jump, they jump. If you slide, they slide. Hell, even if you manage to jump and not be immediately blocked, you can bet your fucking sperm sack that some rat fuck or duck tod is going to be waiting for you in the exact spot where you land. This stage just ends up taking so much longer to get through than could ever have been intended, and it almost ends up ruining all the enjoyment the rest of the game gives you because of it. Seriously, if there's any justice in this world, then whoever was responsible for this abomination of a stage should get fucking cancer. Of the dick. Or vagina. Luckily, this stage isn't quite bad enough to completely ruin the rest of this game, especially not the boss fights, which are all just awesome. They're quite varied, somewhat creative, and extremely fun and memorable. My favorite is probably the train fight. Not because it's particularly challenging or anything, but come on, how often do you actually get to battle a fucking locomotive in a video game? Okay, so there was the Phantom Train in Final Fantasy VI, but still, it doesn't happen that often. Also, there's just something kind of familiar about this whole thing. An out-of-control train that's breaking apart, exploding and gushing flames and steam all over the place, while two characters on a railroad cart try to get up to 88 miles per hour in order to get away? Doesn't that sound just a little bit familiar? That's right, it's an obvious reference to Back to the Future. Ha! You thought I was gonna make some cheap jokes there, didn't you? Well, I just turned that around on your asses, didn't I? Nyeh! Actually, there are a few more references like this in the game. For instance, in the outer space stage, the boss is plucky in a Darth Vader costume, and Babs is dressed up like Princess Leia. That's kinda cute. I would actually call this game quite humorous overall. Don't get me wrong, it's not exactly comedy gold or anything, but it can manage to get a little bit of a chuckle out of me every now and then. Anyway, that's Tiny Toon Adventures Buster Bust Loose, and how does it hold up? Well, even though it has a few niggling faults here and there and one fairly big one, I still think it's a spectacular game. The gameplay is solid, varied and fun, the level design is excellent, and the music and graphics are superb. Yeah, it is a pretty short game, and I think it could have benefited from a few more comedic elements, but all in all, it's just a joy to play. If you haven't tried this game yet and you can manage to find it, I highly recommend giving it a go. Who knows, you might even end up liking that American football stage. If you're drunk. Wow, that was one spectacular video you just saw, wasn't it? Well, guess what? Now you can help make future episodes even better! I know, doesn't seem possible, right? Well, it's true. Simply click on the link to my Patreon page, select the amount you want to donate, and click Become a Patron. By doing this, you will not only allow me to increase my liquor budget, make the show better, but you'll also be able to collect several wonderful rewards, such as access to exclusive videos, your name in the credits, your choice of topic for a video, magical powers, immortality, and much, much more. Well, what are you waiting for? Follow the link, make your donation, and become a patron today!